Hello, and welcome back to Ask the Trade Pros, your favorite show where a couple of trade guys talk, mostly about trade stuff. We're here to answer your questions about your HVAC, your electrical, plumbing, and any other home system so that you can keep your home running smoothly. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Todd. Today we have a listener joining us on the line with some questions about getting the most out of his solar system. Nate, welcome to the show.
Hello. How is everyone?
Good, thank you.
Doing good.
So, Nate, tell us a little bit about what you need to know.
Yeah. So I have a solar system that I've had for about a year. My home is all electric, and it does not have a battery backup or system right now. I'm curious if it makes financial sense to get one of those systems installed after the fact so I can help run stuff over the night, like my heat pump, my water heater, stuff like that.
So how many kilowatt system do you have right now?
It's a 10 kilowatt system.
10 kilowatt, and during the day, what's your usage, and when are you going back off the grid or losing power with what you have now? Is it 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Is it 3? Is it later in the evening?
It's been a while since I looked at the production, but it's usually around 3 or 4 o'clock that the house starts consuming more than the solar system is producing.
So it sounds like during the hottest part of the day, for the summertime at least.
Yeah, during the hottest part of the day, the solar system is overproducing and feeding back on the grid from about 10 o'clock in the morning to, I would say, 2 or 3 in the afternoon. But then after that, it's kind of, the slopes change and I start pulling more from the grid during the afternoon, the late afternoon.
Okay. And Nate, when do you use the other appliances in your house? So you have a laundry, you said everything's electrified. So your laundry or some of the other, you said electric water heater, all that stuff. How's the usage on those appliances? Is that in the morning only? Are you doing it all times of the day? Are you doing it at night? When are you using the most of those? Dishwasher, etc.
Yeah, I'm trying to bias it mostly towards the daytime when we are getting good solar production, but it's pretty common to run the dishwasher in the afternoon and the evening. It's pretty common to be using hot water in the afternoons and evenings. And the heat pump, obviously, it's still cooling the house off, and in winter, it's warming the house up overnight. Washing machines and stuff, typically using those during the day, during peak solar production.
And how's the power usage in the winter? You said, obviously, we're in Arizona where it gets super hot in the afternoons in the summer. In the winter, when the temperatures switch and the time that you're using your AC is not in the middle of the hot day or your heater, how's your power usage on your panels at that time?
Yeah, we end up using a decent amount of grid electricity, mostly at night. That's when it gets the coldest here. I'm a little bit out of town, so it does get a bit colder in the nights here than in town. But yeah, I would say, I don't know the exact kilowatt hours that we're pulling from the grid. It is higher. Our bills are about double what they are in winter compared to summer.
And does your utility provider have like a time of use rate or anything like that?
No, unfortunately not. They're a flat rate throughout the day. They buy back the solar at, I forget what it's called, but essentially what they pay for electricity is what they're buying back our solar power for.
Super discounted price is what you mean?
Yeah. They're only paying us, I think, 4 cents a kilowatt hour for the solar production.
When you purchased your solar system, how did you identify the 10 kW? Was that, what percentage of that was based off of your usage? Is that like a 80%, 100%, 115%?
So we aimed for 100%. Looking at a whole year's worth of power bills, we aimed for 100%, and I think we got pretty close. But obviously, that's looking at a whole kilowatt hour usage spread out across the year.
Yeah, so I guess regarding your question with the batteries, they're not as expensive as they used to be. They have went down over the years in cost, but they still do have a pretty hefty upfront cost. So I guess you would have to look at your bills, from the past year since you've had the solar and kind of weigh the pros and cons of the cost of the batteries, how many batteries you would need. They do have a lifespan on those batteries as well. So is it going to make financial sense to be replacing those batteries? I think nowadays they last 10 years or so, 5 to 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, they have a growing lifespan, Nate, but the question question again, like Todd said, is price. You have to watch as the price of the batteries drop. But, if it's just a financial decision, not an environmental decision or a getting off the grid decision, which will affect it in other ways, you have to ask, okay, so I save $30 a month, but I spend $5,000 on a battery. Is that worth it to me? Some of the other things that Todd hasn't mentioned yet here, depending on how much you want to get into this, you may alter some of your behaviors. Like we were talking about, the air conditioner generates excessive power from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., right? So maybe you run your dishwasher in the morning when possible. You do your dryer in the morning if possible. Now I know people have work schedules. They're not always home. They have other things going on, but you can alter some of your behaviors maybe to limit your usage there. What I've had some customers do, and it depends again, we're creatures of comfort, right? Some of us are going to go that extra mile to save the cent, and some of us just want convenience. But you could turn your AC down in the morning, kind of let it cool off a little bit to help put some of that load on the morning instead of the evening. You could turn your heater on at night and then let it cool down over the night when your batteries aren't producing energy. You could adapt your behavior a little bit. I myself am not one of those people. I'm going to turn it on when I'm going to turn it on. So I can't tell you to do that, but there are alternatives to the cost of the battery, as Todd was saying.
Yeah, I don't know what area you're located in, but batteries would make sense in locations. Say, for example, you have a lot of power outages. The batteries can take over those times as well, if that's the case in some.
Like a secondary benefit.
Yeah, power goes out, you run off the batteries, you keep your AC running.
Yeah, I guess that is something there. I hadn't thought of that.
Now, Nate, do you drive electric vehicles yet?
No, I don't.
Okay. Because one of the things, it's not here yet, but as you're thinking down the future, some of these vehicles are getting designed. We're not there yet, but they're getting designed to act as the battery for your house. So there's also that option. We're talking about combining benefits to make it worthwhile. And you'd want to call your solar expert for this or your battery expert. You have to keep abridged of the latest technology and updates in how batteries work, because it is rapidly dropping in price and features and benefits. And even if it doesn't make sense right now, it may make sense in 2 years or 3 years, or with a tax credit or whatever incentives there are for the battery.
Yeah, it does seem like it's moving pretty fast. Seems like smart thermostats are changing a lot too. We don't have a smart thermostat now, but is that something that could help with programming in those temperature changes and stuff?
Well, I'm probably going to get killed by Google for saying this, but I hate Nest and Ecobee smart thermostats. We've had a lot of customer complaints where they just don't work as advertised. They require you to have your app. They require you to walk in front of it because they have motion sensors. They adapt to stuff, and they just sometimes, for a lot of customers, they become a pain. We do have a few customers that love them. They absolutely love it. So I can't say that it doesn't work. We've had more that don't like it than do like it. A programmable thermostat is not the same as a smart. So some of the things we're talking about here, you could just do in a regular thermostat with a programming setting, or you could use like an Ecobee or Nest with the Wi-Fi app and just do it manually. But when you put on the smart feature, it tends to be smarter than the user, and it changes whenever it wants to.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, we have a pretty old school thermostat that takes about 5,000 button presses to program one temperature change. Is there a middle ground, one that's maybe a little bit easier to program using like a Wi-Fi connection or something that's not 3 different buttons on a thermostat,
That's a good question, actually, because there is a difference between just a Wi-Fi thermostat and a smart thermostat. So if you're looking for something just to control from your phone that's not smart, they do have those options available. There's many different manufacturers: Honeywell, Emerson, Brayburn.
Nest even makes one now. They actually make a model where they took the smart part out because people didn't like it so much.
Oh, that's really good to know. I might have to look into those.
Yeah, I have a smart thermostat at my house, the Ecobee, and it tends to want to listen to my conversations and tell me things to do or order stuff from Amazon. And
does it take your girlfriend's suggestion to go up in temperature and your suggestion to go down and just not listen to either of you?
No, not yet. But my biggest complaint about it is, like Jordan had mentioned, the motion detection. So if it doesn't, ours is in a hallway that isn't traveled much. So if we're sitting in the living room or in the kitchen or really any part of the house but that particular hallway, it doesn't pick up motion and it will shut off the AC. And before you know it, it's 80 degrees and you're thinking, thinking what's going on, and you have to walk in front of the thermostat for it to turn on.
I mean, that does help your solar panel usage, though, if it shuts off in the middle of the day.
You might just be sweating a little bit, but you'll be saving money.
Now, I do have a question. If I do end up replacing my old thermostat, how do I know where the best place to put it in the house is? Right now, it's in a hallway that doesn't really feel like it gets a whole lot of airflow. Is there an easy way to tell kind of where to put it, or is that a call it professional kind of problem?
It is both, Nate. So there's a very easy way to tell where to put it. Just moving it's not so easy. If you just want one location, the best location is going to be where the return air goes in. That's always going to be the warmest air in your house, returning back to the system after it's been cooled in other places. But that's not always easy to do. If you have a wired thermostat, you're not just going to tear the wire out of the wall and rerun it. So even though you might know the best place to put it, you might not be able to put it there. Now, one of the features of these thermostats, Ecobees, Nest, etc., is they have available wireless remote temperature sensors. So if you want them to read the temperature in a different room rather than where the thermostat's located, that is actually one of the things I like about those thermostats. They have these little $half size, quarter size little disc that you can put on a stand or hang on a wall or whatever, and you can set it off a bedroom temperature, you can set it a kitchen temperature, whichever room you want most to be the temperature. And on some of them, you can even have it rotate. It can read off the living room during the day, it can read off the bedroom at night, it can choose a sensor based on time. So that is actually one of the good features of those thermostats.
So I could have it cooling down, in the daytime, my home office, but at the nighttime, I could have it cooling down my kids' room or something like that, right?
Correct. Yeah, and there is other options as well. So if you wanted to not go with a smart thermostat or something with the room sensors, they also do sell wireless thermostats as well, that you could literally place the thermostat wherever you want without running wire.
Yes, they just look like your old alarm clock or something on the counter.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Would that tie in pretty easily to my existing old thermostat? I think it has the 4 wires going into the back of it. I think that's relatively modern, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so it sounds like you probably have traditional wiring minus the common wire if you only have 4 wires. The wireless part, it looks like a normal thermostat. However, at your air handler, since you have a heat pump, you would mount another control board in there essentially that communicates with the thermostat wherever you place that.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some neat options with them. They give you a little bit of flexibility. You don't have to just go with the straight standard thermostat on the wall anymore. They have a few options available to you.
Right on.
Now, keep in mind, this won't protect you if your wife wants to steal the remote thermostat and do what she wants with it. You're on your own there, Nate.
That's good to know.
What other questions did you have for us?
That was pretty much all the questions I had for today. That was all really good information.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all your questions. Thank you for joining us today, Nate, and everyone else for listening.
Yeah, thanks again, Nate, for calling in. We love loyal listeners for doing that. We appreciate it, and we're always happy to answer more questions, so just give us a ring.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Have a good day.
Thank you, Nate. And as for our listeners, if you want to leave us a voicemail or an email, and we may feature your questions in an upcoming episode, or feel free to call us, and we'll get you on the air, like Nate.
As always, a big thank you to Done Right Services for sponsoring this podcast.